Ororon is actually a very interesting support for reasons you might not expect. Like, some of his biggest advantages are just due to the fact he's from Natlan and a bow user. We'll get into why that's important later, but his kit itself is pretty interesting as well. We're gonna start with farming for him, which was a bit of a nightmare. We had absolutely nothing for him, so it's a pretty real 0 to 90. I'm just glad there aren't any school zones nearby. We'll then move on to a kit review, build, and finally team showcases. Today we're raising Ororon, one of the first 4 stars I've raised in a long time. There is a more specific reason, but also he just looks kind of neat. I like his design. I didn't really prepare for him, so we will have a little bit of farming to do here. Couldn't even get him to the first star. I hope these aren't too hard to get. Okay, so 72 were all we could farm. We'll need quite a lot of boss runs as well. Should definitely get my non-exploration team for this. Probs. Beep, beep, 4. Beep, beep, 4. We'll also need some enemy drops, and thankfully the Stardust Exchange just reset, so let's pick those up and those. Let's see how far we can go now. There's the 2nd star, 50, 3rd star, 60, and we can get that 4th star for level 70. Cool. Well, Cap was on and he didn't pick the flowers yet, so we can do that real quick. Beep. Why? What are you going that way for? Beep and beep. I think that was it. Yes, collection in all recommended areas complete. We still don't have enough for max level though. Bones hasn't actually played since Natlan, so I had to spend some time coming here and unlocking at least a couple waypoints. Thankfully, we don't need that many more flowers, but beep. And these 3 should do it. Beep, beep, beep. One more boss run and a trip to the crafting station should get us that 2nd to last star. Boss run, crafting station, 2nd to last star. And finally, 7 more bosses, plus we're probably gonna have to farm for these. Yeah, I really didn't prepare at all. Even if we could get all the blues we need them for talents as well, so that's going to be a problem. And yeah, we don't even have enough for Ascension anyway. Oh boy. Well, we're good on those at least. Though actually, after reading through his kit, I'm not sure the talents are actually that important to raise at all. His first passive here seems to be like the core of his kit, and the damage he does with it is just fixed at 160 of his attack. We'll just drop 5 condensed resin. I mean, we do already have 37 blue books, and we'll just raise them as high as we can, I guess. Beep, 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 beep. Back to boss to finish his Ascension. Beep, beep, beep. 4. 4 again. So only 1 more run now because of that. Okay, that should finally do it. Besides the Saurian drops anyway. Damn, barely enough for Ascension, that's crazy. But there he is anyway, final star, level 90. And now it's time for the good old talent and constellation overview. Normal attack is unimportant for the most part. He can do a charge attack mid-air that also prevents him from falling, and it can interact with some Natlan puzzles. But as far as combat is concerned, you probably won't use it. His elemental skill drops a little ball bro that bounces between enemies, applying electro and dealing damage. It can only hit each unique enemy once, so in single target it's less powerful. Through his 2nd passive, Ororon plus the on-field character can get up to 9 energy by hitting enemies after he uses this skill. His burst is essentially AoE electro damage that lasts 9 seconds. The ball in the middle taunts enemies. Finally, the actual core of his kit is his first passive. It's how he gets and uses Night Soul points, and where a lot of his off-field damage comes from. He can hold up to 80 Night Soul points and gets them in a couple different ways. First, if a Night Soul burst happens, he gets 40 points. Second, after using his elemental skill, he gains 5 points up to every 0.3 seconds. Electro or Hydro attacks have to hit enemies, and it can happen 10 times every skill use for a total of up to 50 Night Soul points from this method. If Electro Charge happens, whether he's on or off field, he will use 10 points to go into Night Soul mode for 6 seconds, and fire attacks every 1.8 seconds. These are these little lightning strikes that can hit up to 4 enemies. They have a standard internal cooldown of 2.5 seconds or 3 hits, meaning these attacks apply Electro every other hit. What I initially overlooked is that he can also enter this mode with any Night Soul aligned attack, so it's not strictly necessary to have Hydro in your team. While Hydro does give him some extra Night Soul points, just doing a Night Soul burst already gives him a lot. His exploration passive is honestly a little mid for a Natlan character. He essentially just gets a high jump. If you're newer to the game, it's still neat to get hard to reach oculi or chests, and inside Natlan it's better since you can swap to him mid-air and essentially fly forever with someone else like Chasca. And lastly, his utility passive increases your team's gliding speed by 15%. I'm not going to talk about his constellations too much honestly, since none of them are that special. C1 through 5 just seem to be mostly personal damage. C1 seems decent, increasing the damage of his passive attack. Those lightning bolts, we'll do it before and after later to see the damage increase. C2 is heavily reliant on being in an AoE scenario, otherwise you only get half of the 32% electro damage bonus. C4 is a small burst buff and energy regen. The energy regen is pretty good actually, combined with the other energy from his passive. He shouldn't need a ton of energy recharge at C4. Finally, C6 is okay. It's a 30% attack buff, but only for the on-field character, and after using his burst, an extra lightning bolt dealing 200% of the normal lightning bolt's damage damage will happen. Moving on to build and where things can get a bit interesting, and what I alluded to in the intro. First, talking about bow options, he can hold one of the best support weapons in the game, Elegy for the End. Usually I'd prefer to give first showcase characters a 4-star, but in this case I'd honestly have a hard time recommending Ororon as a priority unless you have this bow. The main exception is if you just really like him and or taser comps. Unfortunately, it's just not a super strong reaction in the current state of the game, as AoE has become increasingly rare. I'll talk about alternatives if you're dead set on using him without Elegy though. Like Chasca, the craftable Chainbreaker is a solid stat stick for him, especially if you can get it to R5. Otherwise, good old Favonius for extra team energy. He could be considered almost a battery with Favonius. Ally Hunter actually fits his design very well, I noticed. Like Chainbreaker, it is a weapon purely for personal damage. The only downside is that it's a gacha weapon, so not everyone will have it, especially not R5. But yeah, the passive is actually perfect for him. He shouldn't need to be on field for more than 4 seconds actually. Most of their 5-star crit or attack bows will be fine as well, just for the base stats. Finally, what might be even more interesting is the artifact build. The Natlin character specific artifact set, Hero of Cinder City. Arguably the best general support set. So just with Elegy plus Hero, he's a really good buffer, providing 20% attack, 100 EM, and 40% elemental damage bonus, with his kit also providing electro application, energy, and sub DPS. And at C6, the attack buff jumps to a nice 50%. I've already looked through my Cinder City pieces and I've given him a set. I haven't raised them yet though. Decided to save that for now. Let's start with the plume here. It is a very offensive plume, but I didn't have any decent ones that also had energy recharge, which is like the main stat I would want for him, because we need to make absolutely sure he can do his burst every rotation, especially with Elegy. And besides energy recharge, may as well make his sub DPS a little better with all the offensive stats. So far it's rolled pretty well, nothing into flat attack there. Yeah, looking pretty good. Let's get those last 2 levels. We did get 1 flat attack roll there, but honestly pretty solid overall. Moving on to plume, this is what I'd consider basically perfect. As far as EM goes, I'm not too sure. Obviously he's meant to be an electro charge team, and that does get buffed with more EM, so I assume it's decent for him. It didn't actually get touched, but we do have some pretty decent crit value there. With Sands, we do currently have him in main stat energy recharge, because again, it's way more important for me that we guarantee get his burst every rotation, rather than increase his personal damage a bit more with attack Sands. Sadly, the last 3 levels rolled as bad as they could have, just going into def and HP, but what can you do? Goblet is another one I'm a bit iffy on, with C2 giving him electro damage bonus, with Cinder City giving him another 40%, and especially if you were to have Farina with him, an attack Goblet would probably be better. After rolling a couple to 4, we have this one that does have some promise here. It has the double crit lines, so we'll finish it and hope it doesn't roll too bad. Not horribly. 1 into HP, rest into the crit, and we're going off-piece circlet, basically just a lot of crit damage and energy recharge. Final stats, we are actually looking at a respectable 2000 attack. 60 crit to 140 crit damage is a little bad, but 234 energy recharge might be a little overkill actually. We'll keep him like this for now and observe a little bit. If it's ever even close to not having his burst, then we'll just keep him with that high energy. Last thing to do is raise his talents. I'm going to assume the burst is the most important, though again, I don't think any of them are that important. So we're gonna start with getting them both up a little bit. We got them up to 3 and 4 and we ran out of fangs. Yeah, I can only make 18. Man, I thought we were done farming. 4 and 6, is that okay, guys? Okay, be right back. Why does it bring me to the sharks? I can't kill them. We'll try and get his burst up to 8. We're missing 1 blue fang, bro, it's so annoying. Do these guys give fangs also? Oh, they do. And there's that blue. Okay, and there we go. There are a couple of things I want to test with him. First of all, the damage increase from C1, confirming that we actually need multiple unique enemies for the 32% electro damage bonus on C2, and if there's any AoE at all on these attacks, to trigger Hyperbloom, for example. Since I'm just trying to look at the lightning bolt damage, we're going to go with a weird team here. But it's fine. There was like a 55 maybe, because it criticaled. Yeah, 55-60 we're seeing there. Yep, definitely seems to be pretty consistently 55-60. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get his C1 and see what that actually does to the damage. Again, it's always worth mentioning that with stuff like this, the difference might not seem as impressive without buffs and stuff, but we should be able to get a general idea. So like before, we're just going to do his E. That should apply the debuff, and then we're just going to go to Zealonin here. I know we had a shield already, so yeah, I mean 7200 now it looks like when it criticals. 7239. That would be about a 30% actual damage increase. Like we do have some buffs here, Geo Resonance, Cinder City set, etc. It does still seem to be a decent increase overall. Now we're gonna go ahead and get him C2 to confirm this thing. Currently we don't have any electro damage bonus, so we'll just go ahead and do his burst to activate that. And you can see the boss has been hit plenty of times already. And let's go ahead and check. Yep, as you can see, only 16. Here we could find 3 enemies, and that should max out the C2 here. Well, we have 72, I guess Cinder City procced. But yeah, if you take away the 40% from Cinder, we're left with 32, so there we go. Last thing I want to try is if his lightning bolts can proc Hyperbloom, so we're just going to do his E there. Should be able to get, yeah, there we go, and then we can just do that. I mean, I did just see a Hyperbloom there. Could have been just like electro charge as well. It would probably be a lot easier just to try him in a Hyperbloom team and see how he works as the trigger. The issue is if he's going to be the trigger, we would need to rebuild him just with as much EM as possible. I don't even know if I have EM main stats anywhere. We'll try that later. I want to try him as just a general support slash sub DPS in a more normal team. The biggest issue I see right now is that if you're not specifically in a pure electro charge team, your main DPS would mostly want to be from Natlin because it's either doing electro charged or doing Night Soul aligned attacks. I am mainly raising Ororon in prep for the God mode Chasca, but I guess we're gonna try them together because I can't really think of a better use case right now. Something like this I think could be a very nice team. My Freena's at C2, so the Binny healing should be enough for fanfare. Otherwise, it'd probably be better to have some sort of team heal. Let's go back to good old Dorito Boss to do a full rotation here. Oops, he's already spawning. Okay, so E burst with Freena, E burst with Ororon, E burst with Binny, and we're just going to hop up and start flying. Boom. Okay, wait. That is pretty crazy. 2 shots and he was dead. Let's take a look at Chasca's current stats, all the buffs we are getting here. 377 EM. Ororon and Elegy should have procced. The key here, maybe procced. I assume it did. We had the minions out. 40% hydro and electro damage bonus. At least half of our bullets are going to be one of those elements. 4100 attack, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, that was really impressive. Let's head to Abyss. See what they can do on that first consecrated beast there. E burst. Just burst, I guess. I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, here we go. No, stop moving. God, he's so annoying. Okay, there was 1 shot. 2 shot. Damn, basically 2 shots. If he wasn't moving around so much, I'm not gonna say we could have like done this floor with 1 Chasca E or anything, but like maybe. I know she's up here long enough to get, you know, 4 fully charged things off, and he was basically dead in 2. Okay, now we need closer to definitely 3 for some reason. I'm not sure. Yeah, no chance to do it in 1 E, but like the Consecrated Beast is the hard enemy of this floor for sure. And it looks like we barely have enough energy for Ororon, at least in this team, so, or I'm glad he has so much. Yeah, I'm sure we could definitely do it in 2 rotations though. Like that shouldn't be a problem. Let's just start with her burst maybe, before hopping up. Hey, we only need 2 shots now. Oh, what? Why? Oh, that's unfortunate. But we could get like a full 3rd shot off there. So let's just start the rotation over doing what we can here. Ororon's almost dead, which isn't good. And we can just hop back up here. I mean, if this doesn't go horribly, this should be like a sub-minute clear, I would guess. Okay, we'll end it with burst, hopefully. Yeah, okay, not bad, not bad. Just a little over 40 seconds. But like I said, with Elegy and the hero set, he's providing some pretty nice buffs. I'll be honest, I do kind of want to try Kinich at least. I'm not sure exactly how it would work right now. We'd probably have to give up Binny, which isn't really worth it because Dia's currently in Deepwood and I definitely need that set. I haven't seen Kinich mentioned at all in reference to Ororon, so who knows, this is probably dumb, but that's a big part of what we do on this channel. Emily can apply Dendro, Ororon for the spread and for the Cinder City proc, Dia and Kinich, and hopefully they will burn and ignore overloaded. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to try. We should get the electric buff things, right? Do we have a Dendro bonus? Where did Ororon Cinder City go? Was he not in Night Soul mode? But we have the pyro damage. We weren't in Night Soul mode. There are so many stupid things to take care of in this game. My brain melts. I mean, one thing I don't think I ever tested was if we can get 3 elemental damage bonuses, and apparently we can. It's just unfortunate that we only get the 12% here because he's not yet in Night Soul mode when that first quicken happens. And then of course, all of his follow-up attacks are just overloaded because the enemy is on fire. I mean, I would guess then just not using Dia would give us the stuff. I mean, there is quicken there, and we are doing those electro attacks. He is raining those down. So yes, indeed, we do have the full Dendro bonus now. Wait a minute, I just had an idea. Theoretically, all we have to do while still being able to use Dia is just start with Kinich's burst. This is also Night Soul aligned attacks. We'll try that, see how it works, I guess. Look at that, full Dendro bonus. And the dude was on fire. I still don't think he's worth more than Binny, especially because we do have to start with Kinich's burst, which is just not even really worth doing. But I guess it's at least something to ponder about. Last thing I want to try is Hyperbloom with Ororon being the trigger there. I'm gonna use the one Hyperbloom team I'm comfortable with, which is just these guys. Now that I think about it, I don't think the Cinder City set really is going to help that much here, since Hyperbloom damage basically only cares about level and EM. But the main thing I want to check out is how well he can explode the Dendro cores. We could make a 4-piece Elemental Mastery Cinder City set, but honestly, I don't really think it's worth it. We're probably just gonna take Cookie's Flower of Paradise Lost. He's sitting at 910 EM, which is fine. Once Elegy procs, he will be over 1,000. It's gonna be mostly a matter of how consistently he can pop the cores. All right, we're gonna do skill and burst, and we're gonna wrap back around to Nahida to continue, okay, wait, actually? Okay, I mean, he died super fast, and I was seeing a good amount of Hyperblooms pop up, actually. We'd probably need to try against something a little harder, so we'll just go to Abyss. His burst actually does have a decent AoE, and it lasts 9 seconds. Just with that alone, it's not horrible. Hunter's Bow Yelan. Okay, well, let's try and change that. I mean, typically, she would be the one holding onto Elegy in this team, so I'm not sure him being a bow user in this case really is a big advantage. It means we could just go Aqua Simulacra for more Yelan personal damage. All right, let's see how this Consecrated Beast goes first of all, I suppose. First, swap back to Nahida to drive that. And yeah, I mean, the thing hits pretty damn fast, actually. Unfortunately, the dude is moving around everywhere, and I think I'm going to get a seizure. But yeah, I mean, he died actually really, really fast, so we can start the rotation over now. Get everyone's burst back here. Ororon is perfectly fine on energy as well. Let's swap back to Nahida and just go to town there. Lots of numbers popping up, of course. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that was pretty fast. I think faster than the Chasca side, actually. Let me start this and see. Oh no, it wasn't, actually. A little slower, but pretty comparable. It's like 47 versus 43 seconds or something. I actually do want to try having Ororon come a little earlier. Otherwise, I feel like we're wasting quite a lot of Dendro cores. Boom, so we can do all those. Very nice. Let's get Yelan in there now, just for some extra hydro. Then wrap back around to Nahida to start blasting. We can see those Hyperblooms go off pretty consistently. Unfortunately, we couldn't kill him in one rotation that time for whatever reason. Could have just been bad luck, I suppose. Time-wise, we actually did do pretty well though. That's like 45 seconds. Not horrible, not horrible. Man, that's tough. Like, I do think it's probably still a bit better to keep him in Cinder City because like there is a good amount of off-field damage happening in this team. And since he can trigger both Electro Charged and Hyperbloom, he should actually get bonuses for everyone. I want to equip him like that and just look at it and see. I really don't want to raise artifacts for this, especially because our one EM circlet is triple flat. I guess as a pure Hyperbloom driver, his stats don't matter that much, but still it kind of hurts. We don't even have an EM goblet, so that has to be off piece. None of these stands are good. I'm just going to go with this one. Plume and Flower are pretty sad. The ones I have raised have no EM on them. Well, this one has 19 at least. And we have no artifact XP anymore. Let's see what happens to the sands. It's whatever. Literally nothing good can happen with the circlets, so I mean, I guess we could have gotten some attack rolls, but we didn't anyway. We'll definitely have less EM. 723, why is it so much less? Yeah, I think we had over 60 on the Plume and Flower in the other set, plus it gives us 80 on the 2-piece. Let's just go back in and see if we notice a difference. Okay, well, he rolled out of Ororon's burst area, which is, yeah, a big problem, obviously. Something Kuki Shinobu doesn't struggle with. He's just moving around way too much this time for some reason. He wasn't doing that before. Yeah, every single time. He just hops exactly outside of the ring and just stays there and does nothing. Why? Fine, I'm going to go on this side now and maybe he'll just go somewhere else. I don't know. Oh my god. Okay, he is kind of moving back in, but that doesn't really work that well. Yeah, he's so annoying. I hate him with every fiber of my being. Okay, he's kind of staying in the area now. I don't know. Is it better? Is it worse? It's like not really better, actually. I think that guy has Hydro Res. Since we can't check stats in Abyss, I want to make sure that Cinder City is actually working as I'm assuming it does. And also just to check the EM we have, you know, in the middle of battle there. Although I guess when he goes off field outside of Nahida's thing, we only have 898. Why is the Hydro bonus 12? Are we not doing Electro Charged at all? So when he's on field, we have 1148 and we do explode, you know, a good chunk of them while he's still on field. I feel like it's more important that we have the Hydro bonus as opposed to the Dendro. Are we really not triggering Electro Charged at all? The stuff on him now. Wait a minute, now we have all 3 buffs, so it is possible. I don't know what I did differently this time in particular. He should be in Night Soul mode pretty much immediately upon pressing E, as long as the enemy he's shooting the E at has Hydra on them causing Electro Charged. And then because he's in Night Soul mode, we should get the 40% bonuses. And then the Dendro comes in at one point and he does Hyperbloom and boom, all bonuses. To be totally real for real though, I would just use Kuki with her key and give Elegy back to Yelan. Even if the total potential team damage because of Cinder City was higher, using him instead of Kuki. For me, it's just too much to think about. I just want to press E with Kuki and go on my day. And like with the Consecrated Beast, maybe that's like the worst case scenario, but his burst is stationary. And if the enemy goes out of that, then yeah, you're kind of screwed. I will say though, in most cases, he does work perfectly fine as a Hyperbloom trigger. But yeah, in my opinion, Kuki is just a lot more comfortable to use. But yeah, I guess that'll pretty much do it for now. I know I didn't do like a pure Electro Charge team. I wanted to look at the other things he can do because it's just too obvious that you throw him in an Electro Charge team and he's going to be fine. Overall, jump cool.